Hi family, you're joining me today for Mums at the Table. My name is Rachel. Now, if you're anything like me, you're looking for a group to commiserate with on all of the challenges of motherhood and talk about what really works. And I love these ladies because I learn so much from them. They're always challenging my thinking and I'm constantly laughing, especially after the cameras go off. You should see what happens. Joining me today are Shona, Rachel, and Melody. How are you ladies feeling today?
Good, thank you.
Yeah?
You?
I'm excited.
Good.
Yeah. Well, today we're going to be giving tribute to the men in our lives with several topics that are celebrating the importance of dads, as well as talking about how to be grateful and develop kids who are resilient and can stand up to the challenges of life. But first, let's shine the spotlight on dads and the impact of their relationships with their daughters. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but there's a John Mayer song that says, "Fathers, be good to your daughters because daughters will love like you do." Could it be that a dad's relationship with his daughter could impact her love life for a lifetime? Melody, you always have a lot of wisdom, so I'm wondering if you can shine any light on this. Do you feel like a dad's relationship with his daughter will really impact her love life?
I think it will, and in somehow of a different way that I'm thinking of as well, which I've always actually been thinking. So my father is, 100% Asian, Chinese, from Singapore, well, from Singapore-ish. My husband is Australian Caucasian, but there's many a times that I look at my husband and go, I think I just married my dad.
Oh, wow. Is that good or is that bad?
Well, actually, luckily for me, on my part, I think it's good. But I think for a lot of, good or bad, whether the father's good or bad, I think a lot of women do end up marrying someone like their dads. And so it's really important that fathers play a really good role because you want them to marry good dads, good husbands.
Yeah. Melody, I know that your father passed away when you were in your teens. Do you think that that had an impact on your love life or your romantic relationships?
I think a little bit, actually. I think he passed away when I was 18, so he did set some foundations already. But it always I'm always been a bit awkward around like men in that sense because I think it's just I lost that figure that I could really relate to, that I could be comfortable with, and then I was just kind of like lost.
Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah, I know that they say that you marry someone who's like your father. Do you think that that's true? Or do you think there's any truth
I
to
definitely think there's a large amount of truth to that. Like, I always refer to it as the emotional DNA because how your parents treat you as you grow up, for some reason, I guess it falls into your emotional DNA in a way, and that's what becomes normal, even if it's not the best, it could be the good, the bad, the ugly, but it somehow falls into us, and that's what we end up connecting with, even subconsciously. So I think it plays a huge role in it.
As a family therapist, Steve Biddle, some of you might know him. I'm not pronouncing his last name correct, but he did say that fathers' impact on their daughters are 5 times more than what their mothers are.
Wow.
Interesting though, see for me, the only comparison I can see between Gary and my father is that they are handyman, like they're really good around the house, they fix things and they do all of that. And I don't know whether that's because I've pushed him into that or whether that's part of his makeup, because his father was a reasonably good handyman but didn't do a lot around the house fixing things. So I don't know whether I've impacted on that with Gary or not. But when I look at my father and Gary, I think I actually chose to have somebody completely different, like spiritually, emotionally, physically, everything. He is so completely different to my dad.
Is that like a conscious decision that you thought about, or it just sort of happened?
No, I think I chose to have somebody very different. I wanted somebody who was more hands-on than my dad. He was very distant. He was a farmer, so he was always never home. And I didn't like that. Yeah.
Yeah, thinking of that from the other perspective, because we've talked about positive things, but some people have experienced, like, if their father has cheated on, their mother, they've said that they've had the tendency to find a spouse that's done the same thing, So I think that that's kind of a flip side of it, is that sometimes that negative impact can, impact your relationships as well. So I know that it says that clinical psychologist Anna Nogales said that 80% of adults who witness infidelity as a kid say that it has affected the way that they love.
Wow.
So
yeah,
that's a lot,
it would.
isn't it?
Yeah, it would. Everything would impact it because those relationships are so important. Like, we base our belonging, like our sense of belonging, on what our parents think of us as we're growing up. So that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
And I trust thing.
Yeah. But I think it's interesting that you then choose a spouse who do the same kind of thing. I'm not sure what's happening in the psyche of your mind to be doing some of that.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's a conscious decision to choose, though. I think it's just, you just fall into that pattern somehow.
Well, you know, hopefully you have very happy memories with your father. However, if this has triggered any challenging thoughts or you need support in working through some of the things you felt in response to this segment, you can call Lifeline in Australia or New Zealand, and the information will be there on your screen. Well, no matter what some people have experienced, they seem to walk through life with just this sense of calm and ease. And I wonder if it has anything to do with gratitude. How can being grateful shape our outlook? Let's learn a bit more from our well-being segment.
Hello, I'm Laura Bennett. As a parent, you go out of your way for your kids all the time, packing their favourite lunch, driving them across the city. Wouldn't it be nice if they thanked you for it? Joining us on the couch to help bring gratitude into our homes, psychologist and parenting expert Colette Smart. Great to have you.
Thank you for having me.
When we talk about gratitude, what are we referring to?
Well, I think the easiest thing is we know it when it's not there. When we don't see it, we recognise it, and we all know people who are bitter. But really, when we talk about gratitude, it's about being vulnerable. And I say vulnerable because we need to be other-focused, and we need to go out of our way to open ourselves up to show appreciation to somebody else. And that can be tricky. It can feel uncomfortable sometimes to do that, but it's really about looking for the positives, and I find gratitude something hopeful in our lives, and I think it's so important to have more hope in all of our homes.
Yeah, and as we value others, it is also beneficial to us. How is thankfulness and gratitude important to each of us individually?
So there's some fascinating links on gratitude being linked to well-being. So it can be broken down into 3 areas. We see something that I call a powerful relationship tool. So I've just mentioned how it enhances our relationships with other people because we're vulnerable, because we go out of our way to thank somebody else. And so obviously then we have people feeling cared for and appreciated. So your relationships are enhanced. The second one then is we're seeing physical health benefits. So it's a physical health tool. We're actually seeing things like lowered inflammation in people's bodies.
Wow.
And we see improvements in sleep, which stands to reason because we're actually, when we're lying awake stressing, rather than feeling stressed, we're actually practicing thankfulness or gratitude, and so we feel more relaxed, which leads on to the third tool, which is your mental health tool.
Right.
And we're seeing increases in resilience in general because people are less stressed, they're more optimistic, and they're just happier in life.
Yeah, and I remember a couple of years ago doing a gratefulness jar that I found a really good way to actually start to develop some of this in my own life. What would some of your recommendations be if we do want to be more thankful, be more grateful?
Well, you've spoken about something that actually is well known. There's a study that showed when people practiced being grateful for 3 things every day for about a 2-week period, they actually saw changes in the brain pathways. They saw a difference in the way people's brains functioned. And so really my advice to parents and families is use that. Sit at dinner times, have chats with your children. What were you grateful for today? What were you grateful for with each other? I've suggested using things like whiteboards, where you put up a big whiteboard of what you're grateful for, each family member, about gratitude journals, writing thank you notes, putting thank you notes in your children's lunch boxes or under their pillows, and sending loved ones a text saying thank you, thanks for what you did today.
Very practical, Colette. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
And if you want more parenting tips and expert advice, follow The Table TV on Instagram and Facebook.
Do you ever feel like your husband is the fun parent and you're left being the mean disciplinarian? Or do you feel like the kids listen more to their father than they do to you? And is there a difference between mom and dad discipline? Shona, you seem to already have an opinion on this one. As you're nodding vigorously over here.
Yeah.
So which category do you fall into?
I'm the mean one. I'm the disciplinarian. Well, let's put it this way. When the kids were little, up until probably mid-high school, I was the mean one. I still am the one who disciplines because Gary was wonderful at throwing out these, I'm taking that mobile phone off you for a month. And you're like, oh, come on, I'm the one that's got to live with this. Once you've taken the mobile phone off them for a month or TV for 3 months. So, yeah, he was unrealistic in his discipline.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it wasn't so much that he was just like the fun parent. He just went outlandish with it. Like,
yeah,
so,
he either did all or nothing.
like, I'm going to throw you to the moon.
Yeah.
But you had to follow through.
Yeah, I had to be the follow through.
Yeah.
So as the boys got older, I was just like, you know what, darling, can we just be a little bit more sensible with the discipline?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So was it anything, I was just wondering, was it anything that you guys discussed to do or...
No, our parent was very random. Still is very random.
Oh, it sounds too familiar.
Are you good cop or bad cop?
I'm probably bad cop most of the time. Like, we do switch every now and again because my husband plays a really central role in looking after the kids a couple of days a week. And we're so slow, it's taken us a little while to sort of get on top of the fact that we really need to discuss this before we roll it out. Because at first, like, generally there's one manager at home. Generally, someone is managing the kids and the family, so that person takes the lead and you expect the other person to follow. And when they don't, you're like, I beg your pardon.
Yeah, and that's when the argument starts and the kids are standing there going, oh, good, we've won this one.
I know. And I'm like, oh, they got us again.
Well, it's interesting you say that because Shirley Taylor, who's a parent mentor and coach, says that difference that happens is because parents are not on the same page. Like, they just kind of are.
But I think that comes back to that we're brought up in different families.
Yeah.
And it's something I found we never discussed until we got into the heat of the moment, and it was the wrong time to discuss parenting strategies.
Bingo.
Yeah.
I feel like kids are listening and they're kind of like waiting for those disagreements. So they're like, oh, there's a crack in the wall. Like,
but I always felt like my parents were on the same page together, so I don't know what my problem is. They were always like on the same page, and I could never get an in. Like,
but maybe
they were good.
in front of you they were on the same page,
Yeah,
but maybe behind closed doors. Like, one parent
wasn't smart enough.
But that's what we usually do, like my husband and I. I think we don't have a disciplinarian, but at the end of the day, I think I will be the bad cop, but usually we take turns.
Really? I couldn't see you as the bad cop.
Really?
Yeah.
I see you as quite firm in your decision, but I'm wondering, do we take that bad cop per se because we're the mothers and
because we're home predominantly dishing out the discipline most. That's what I thought too. I'm like, am I putting that on myself?
But
my husband's a stay-at-home dad, but
you're
still thinking that I'm going to be the bad cop.
Well, sometimes they say that the parent who's more the good cop is actually copping out from being the disciplinarian. Like, they don't want to be the one who's hard on.
Your kids need someone to sort of go to after, like. That discipline, okay, in my household, I'm a bit harsh. I'm probably a harsh disciplinary. But I feel like they sort of need someone to be on their side, not in terms of getting a wedge in there between us, but someone that will love them and trust them because they're not wanting to come straight to me because I've just, dished it out. Yeah. I always feel like they need that other side.
Do you feel like that good cop parent is more effective when they actually lay down the law because they don't do it as often?
Yeah, I do. In our house, yes, I do. I do, yeah.
I've actually found now the boys are in their late teens, early 20s. They have started coming back to me because I'm a bit more reasonable. Yeah. Yeah, I've now taken the role. I've actually stepped back a lot from disciplining and I'm engaging and talking and doing that sort of thing, whereas Gary's still going, I'm taking the mobile phone off you, or you can't have the keys to the car.
The discipline changes, doesn't it? But I think, I don't know, I think I like the fact that Dad's off another fun person. I hate it, but I like it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Why do you hate it but like it?
Because I want to be the fun person too sometimes, but it's really nice that kids have that.
I think it's a gender thing. Guys are more fun.
No.
You know what? Let's celebrate our dads by giving them something. How about that?
Oh, that's a good idea.
We have a copy of this book. It's Ian Watson's book, Every Bloke's a Champion. So we're giving it up to you guys, your champions. And to get your free copy, email us using the information that you're going to find there on your screen. There's a limited number, so get to emailing us right now. And now we're going to join Gia and Olive in the kitchen to learn how to make a delicious dry potato curry.
Hello, welcome back, and we have another Charmaine Solomon special, and Charmaine Solomon is Shona's mother-in-law, and she comes from Sri Lanka, but she was raised here, and she travelled the world and wrote cookbooks from all different parts of the world. So I'm excited that Shona today is going to share with us, and I think it's good that Shona's doing it because she knows her mother-in-law very well. and she gets to make this for her kids. And I just love having different cultural food for my kids. So this is an easy recipe.
Really easy.
What's it called?
It's a dry potato curry, because you get lots of different types of curries, but this one's dry.
Okay.
So what I've done is I've parboiled the potatoes first.
Okay.
So it makes it really quick, because if you're anything like me in the kitchen, it's got to be done in
Quick, yes.
20 minutes, or otherwise we're not eating it. So
That's pretty good.
we're going to start off with a couple of tablespoons of oil and then 1 onion. Okay, so that's finely diced. You can do it however you want. Oh, that's what you want, is a nice sizzle.
Yes.
You're just going to let that soften down. Don't let it burn, because then you lose all that lovely sweetness of an onion. And then we'll come back and add the other ingredients. Okay, so we've been sweating this for probably a couple of minutes. It takes longer to sweat this than wait for the potatoes to boil, I suppose. You want to get them sweet. You're just on that verge of caramelisation. You don't want to burn them.
No,
you just want to get them sweated down.
Olive's helped you with the
With the lemon. Excellent.
She figured it out.
Okay, to this, I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of turmeric, 1 teaspoon of salt, and some chilli.
Awesome.
Okay, I've probably got about 1 teaspoon of chilli there, because you do need a bit of heat. So you're going to add that to the onions. 1 teaspoon of panchpura. Now, panchpura is an Indian herb that spices, and the whole spices. So in that you've got fenugreek, you've got nigella, you've got...
So where do you get it from?
You have to make this one yourself, but if you go online, the recipe's online.
For it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you just want them, if you come in really close, you just want them to start popping.
Okay.
Yeah, and
So
once they start popping, they're roasted.
Awesome.
Okay? And this is going to go a really nice yellow colour.
That's awesome. I love potatoes.
Yes.
And I just think they're so good, especially in winter, like on the table, like in the middle of the table with the food that you're eating.
And look, this is one of those dishes that if you're having curry and rice and you want some accompaniments, this is what you would use.
Awesome.
Okay, so see how that's nice and yellow?
That's
That's the colour you want.
Okay.
Okay, going to add the cooked potatoes with some mint.
So did your mother-in-law cook for you guys a lot?
We did a lot of taste testing when Mum was writing books. I remember at one stage Gary was saying she used to, she was doing banana fritters, and he absolutely hates banana fritters now.
Banana fritters, I'll taste test.
Not when you have them 100 times a day, you wouldn't.
You don't need the lemon yet?
I need the lemon. Can I have some lemon?
Thank you.
So this is now the juice of 1 lemon that you're going to put in. This is all to taste.
Okay. Oh, they look amazing.
The smell is divine.
That's so easy. Just like you just, instead of baking potatoes, which takes an hour. Or 50 hours. Or 50 hours.
If
I know it does it 50 minutes.
you love potato salads, this is a really nice alternative. Now, I'm going to turn this off.
Yeah.
This is garam masala.
Okay,
This is
so you don't cook it out? No.
You add this at the end.
And why is that?
Because this is a warming spice. So this warms up your metabolism.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so this is the equivalent of a Chinese 5-spice.
Nice.
But it's an Indian 5-spice. And you add it over the top, as much or as little as you like. We love it.
Okay.
And that's it. It's all done.
That is
it's
awesome.
Simple.
Okay, so I've got, let's get a plate, and I reckon we should serve it out.
Okay.
That looks awesome. I cannot wait to try it. It's too hot to try now.
And you can see that it's dry. It's not a wet curry, it's a dry curry.
Oh, wow. Even on rice and with another curry or something.
Yeah.
That looks amazing. That is one that I'm going to use for when visitors come over as well. That is cool.
This is so easy.
Thank you. Thanks to your mother-in-law. Say thanks to Charmaine. Will she watch us? She should watch us.
Yes, she does.
Cool. See you next time.
You know, we all know that challenges are a part of everyday life. So how can we as parents prepare our children to be strong in the face of adversity, handle disappointment, and manage their emotions when it feels like life isn't going their way? Joining us today is Susie Mok, founder of Resilience in Kids, and she's here to talk to us about how we can understand this issue and empower our children. Welcome.
Thank you.
I'm very excited to learn about this. I have a 2-year-old, and I know we all have kids, and we'd love to have more resilient children. Can you just start us off with very basic? What is resilience?
So resilience is about being able to respond with confidence to challenges. It is a process. It involves a set of thoughts, behaviours, actions, and the really exciting thing is that it has been codified and so it can now be taught. It is a skill that we can learn.
So then you're saying not everybody's born with resilience?
Resilience is made up of a number of different factors. There are many influences on whether we can respond resiliently to a situation. So yes, many of us are born with a set of characteristics that can predispose us to being able to respond in that way. There's then the learned skill component of it, and then there's the broader environment and the influences that that has. So by that I mean your parents, your family context, the school that you go to, your broader sense of community, the society that you live in. All of that together and how those interact is what determines whether you respond resiliently to a situation or not.
So how old can I start resilient training my child?
You can start from a very early age, and we like to coin this term of parent as resilience coach. So as a parent, you are every day presented with the most incredible opportunities to build resilience in your kids. And it really is a wonderful thing because as parents, you do have such a big influence on your kids. So when we run our programs for parents, we like them to feel, yeah, you could see it as pressure, but it is a wonderful opportunity and we like parents to really feel in control, motivated, empowered to really try and affect some change.
So Susie, what's the difference between that role as parent versus resilient coach? Like, what are you doing? Is it as a parent you're nurturing and you're pulling them close, and as a resilient coach you're kind of telling them like chin up and, you know, toughen up a bit, or how does that work?
So resilience coaching is really about giving your kids the skills to be able to respond with confidence to those tricky situations that come up. And when we talk about resilience, we talk about adversity and facing adversity. And it's easy to think that that's all about trauma and those really big things that happen. But we go through this every day and we talk about the everyday challenges that we or that kids face. So falling out with a friend in the playground, or, you know, not doing well in a test, or not getting into the netball team when you've practiced so hard for it. So, yes.
You talk about doing it from a young age, and that's, you know, easy to do. What about teenagers? Can you build resilience into them? Because there's so much out in the news today about how they're not coping with life adversity. Can you build resilience in older kids?
I think you can. I think you can. I think if you are aware of what a resilient child looks like and what a parent resilience coach looks like and what the skills are that you need to have and that you need to be building in your kids, then I think you can. But I do believe that the earlier you start, the better.
So you said what a resilient child looks like. What does a resilient child look like?
Yeah, there are many different characteristics of a resilient child. A resilient child is someone that's able to manage their emotions, someone who's aware, I talk about the growth mindset, the Carol Dweck model, who's aware of the growth mindset, who can persevere, who sees failures or making mistakes as opportunities to learn. I've developed a framework that's got 8 pillars that we talk to. But there are some very simple things that parents can be doing day in, day out. So we talk a lot about emotion coaching in resilience in kids. So just teaching kids to be aware of their bodies and the emotions that they're feeling, and helping to give them a language around what those emotions are. So at home we've got a thing on the fridge that's got a list of all these different feelings and emotions so that we can develop that emotional vocabulary. And also giving children opportunities to, we talk about have time in. So rather than the sort of traditional time out, you know, you've thrown a tantrum or you're really angry or you've said that I hate my sister and I wish she hadn't been born. Many of us here, and as a parent, it's like, oh my goodness, I can't believe you just said that. But let's see that as an opportunity for intimacy and teaching. Let's have a little hug, let's sit down and let's say all feelings are okay. Any actions associated with those, like thumping or punching, is not acceptable. Wow. Let's sit with that emotion. There's usually something underpinning that, and if you can sit with it, you can sometimes get that little nugget of gold that can just make you go, now I know what's really going on here.
So Susie, I'm thinking about a situation, maybe a child is playing a sport and they don't win, you know. What type of coaching would you do around that would you see as good behavior in that situation a resilient child would display?
Yeah, so it's a good question, and it's a tricky one to answer in the sense that I don't know the full context, I don't know the child, don't know the parents and so on. But yeah, a typical reaction would be to show a bit of empathy, and I think this is such a critical skill for kids, for parents and for kids. But I can see that you're feeling really upset about that. you want to talk about it. And
so just acknowledging those feelings.
It's acknowledging and validating those feelings. And I think being heard is something that all of us need to feel, whether it's with our partners, whether it's with work colleagues, whether it's mum and dad. And I think that interaction that a child then feels that they've been heard, they feel that their feelings have been validated, and I can trust mum or dad and I can have this conversation with them, I think is really important. And then not going the step further, which might be to become a lawnmower parent and to go and speak to the coach or get the next coach in.
Or a hoverer. Oh, I'm a caring parent.
Oh, that's right, I forgot.
So then it's the parent who needs the resilient training in that case if they're going up to the coach. And
it depends what's going on in that circumstance, but I do think as parents we do need to take a bit of a step back. I mean, there are new parenting styles and we see a lot in the media about helicopter parents and lawnmower
Stop pointing at me.
Just looking around the room.
So do you think because of different parenting styles that have come through our culture or whatever, do you think kids are more fragile today than they used to be?
There's a lot in the media around that. There's a lot about cotton wool kids and this general sense of fragility. And I do think that there is a case for that, especially where they are parented by a helicopter parent that is quite overprotective or by a lawnmower parent that just wants to remove all obstacles from their path. And I think the key is not for parents to just completely back off and not spend time with their kids. It's just for them to shift their focus. And so to, instead of hovering, is to take a step back and do some research into, well, what are the developmental milestones for children of this age? Is it time for my 9-year-old to be packing their own lunch and walking to school by themselves? Is this okay? It's easy to sort of wake up one morning and go, oh, I've got a 9-year-old. I'm still packing their bag and I'm still doing all this stuff for them that I perhaps shouldn't be doing. So
let them have the consequences at school if they've forgotten something.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what's interesting is thinking about this idea of dads and fragility, because often we'll see that dads will treat their little girls like kind of a princess, you know? Do you see any idea around this, the way fathers are treating their daughters and creating resilience between that relationship of maybe fathers and daughters?
Yeah, it was interesting seeing your segment earlier around the influence that fathers can have on their daughters, and I think there was some research recently published that talked about when fathers treat their daughters as princesses, that it can lead to an increase in anxiety disorders when they reach teenage years or older. And I think when I think of the word princess, I do think of someone who's maybe a bit, needs the red carpet rolled out for them, is maybe a bit spoiled, is very nice, very gentle, very kind, very focused on what they look like. And I think whether you treat a girl like that or whether you treat a boy like that, then I do think that there are risks associated with that. But I do feel a bit concerned about just focusing on the girls here, because I think boys are brought up in this culture where they're told to man up or to grow up hair.
Cry
and don't cry, stop crying. To cry is a natural human emotion. So I feel that boys need to be told it's okay to express these emotions. And if they're aware of their emotions from an early age, when they're 17 and they're asked to get into a car with their friend who's joyriding and who's drunk, they can recognise the feeling in the pit of their stomach that says, I'm not sure this is a very good idea. I think I'll pass things.
Yeah. Well, I think it's been amazing to talk to you about this idea of resilience and to be able to create resilient children. That's what we're all hoping to do as parents with our boys and with our girls. Thank you. I want to thank you for joining us here today at the table. And we'd love for you to stay connected with us on our social media. We have Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, as well as our website. I can't wait to hang out with you again, and I'm looking forward to it. Thank you, ladies, for being with me here today on the show. See you later.